Hello all and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I'm going to dub my. It seems that summer never ends, so just another hot and humid day today. Again, one in which people ask me, why am I wearing a jacket? Actually, it doesn't happen all that much. You'd think that somebody wearing a thick black uniform and then putting a black jacket over that in like 85-degree weather would get asked why he's wearing a jacket a whole lot more than they actually do. But yeah, why do I wear a jacket? Because I'm kind of OCD, honestly. Um, that's probably the most germane thing. I don't feel comfortable in outside in short sleeves. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, anyways, we're going to be reviewing this over here. This was, of course, a birthday present from my father. And I know I've reviewed it fairly recently, about a year or two ago. But I think, it's fun to go and re-review things because it saves me money if it's free beer, for one. And two, it kind of gives me perspective when I go and review these like reviews back to back, see how my palate has changed, you know, and what have you. So we're starting with the baseline here. This is their Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. So pretty much everything else in this pumpkin variety pack is, sort of a spin-off. This is the OG here. And it's 6.7 ABV, so somewhat on the heavy side. Probably only going to have this tonight because it's late and I should not drink too much before going to bed. And I'm going to go and read the. So there's verbiage on here, but I think the one on the website does it a little bit better here. So here we go. Brewed with 150 pounds of pumpkin in each batch. Made with pale, Munich, and crystal malts, green and roasted pumpkin seeds, pumpkin in the mash, boil, and fermenter. Bittered with horizon hops. Spiced and conditioning with nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, ginger, and allspice. And I don't know why I'm having mild allergies right now, but I can still breathe through my nose, so we're good to go, I'd say. So let's go and pour this out. I've tried to let it warm up for about 10 minutes. This one is not one you want to have straight out of the fridge. It's so closed up when it's cold. You definitely want it at about, well, not quite room temperature, but, warmer. Okay, let's pour this one out, shall we? Still a little bit on the cold side. Hopefully once it gets into the glass, it'll warm up a bit more. Alrighty. So I know it looks kind of red, but that's my camera. It's more of a light brown, amber, orange, kind of those three colors, depending on how much light's passing through. So it's pretty orange on the bottom, but gets almost to brown, a light brown towards the top, with a thick, fluffy, yeah, I'd say beige head, light beige head. And you definitely get all those spices in here. None of them really kind of like pop out in particular. Well, maybe the cinnamon does, but cinnamon always does that. Cinnamon's always really aromatic. But you definitely also catch the ginger, the allspice and nutmeg. Overall sweetness to it. Now, the sad thing is that you don't really get much of the gourd in the nose. Even when it warms up quite a bit, but that's fine, you don't really think of pumpkin as particularly. Oh, the joys of not doing multiple takes. Particularly aromatic. Pumpkin is not particularly aromatic. Maybe I should start practicing on tongue twisters, shall I? But yeah, definitely a lot of those pumpkin spices in the nose. Well, you don't really get, yeah, you definitely don't get the hops in the nose, at least at this point. You kind of have like almost biscuity malts, but you're not catching the gourd in the malts there. And it's kind of blended in with just the overall sweetness of the pumpkin spices. Okay, onto the palate now, shall we? As always, a pumpkin is strongest in the mouthfeel. You know, it adds a lot of chewiness and roundness to the body. That's sort of distinct from, having, a lot of residual sugars um, in it. It just has a different feel to it. That said, there still is quite a bit of residual sugars in this. There's a sweetness that's well balanced by the hops that kind of show up in the front. And there's definitely those pumpkin spices that appear on the palate, and as well in the top note. You definitely get a roasted aspect in the top note too, in the long finish. Underneath the sweetness, there's a light nuttiness, very subtle. As well as a maybe even more subtle like vegetal note. The one major drawback for me on this, now that I've had it a few times, is that there's an astringency in the long finish. That kind of comes, I think, from like the sugars dissipating and you're left with those pumpkin spices and hopping at the same time. So it just becomes like kind of hopping has like hopping by itself has sort of like a pleasant long bitterness. These spices by themselves have a very subtle, if also pleasant long bitterness, but put them together and it's it's kind of an off note. Um, to use a Latin, a diabolus in musica. I think that's what they call the tritone. But other than that, you know, while it's in the mouth, you know, it's fairly pleasant. You know, it's not my Arcadian pumpkin ale, which I will probably die before I ever experience again. But it is certainly pleasant enough, except for that, you know, kind of astringent long finish. As it warms up, yeah, definitely getting a bit more vegetal notes and top note and on the palate. Still pretty subtle and still far underneath the spices and even the nuttiness. Feels about right for a 6.7 ABV wise, so not boozy, but definitely not light feeling either. Yeah, Night Owl from Elysian Brewing. You know, interesting fact. Okay, so some of you may know I am of Hawaiian heritage, not full Hawaiian heritage, but part Hawaiian heritage. Though you know, that's what I put on my census. I pretty much put Hawaiian on my census because, you know, um, we got to count. You know, we almost went extinct in the 1800s, so we got to count ourselves. But anyways, I digress. Um, our family Aumakua on my father's side is the owl. Aumakua being sort of like family tutelary deity. So, you know, protective animal spirit that is passed along the family line. And that is, of course, the owl. Not this particular owl, which is a western great horned owl, but of course the native Hawaiian owl, which is found only in Hawaii, the pueo. Or pueo. Yeah, now I've lost the protection of my Aumakua because I said its name wrong. Anyways, yeah, I guess that's your weird random fact about me. Um, this is not, yeah, it goes back to pre-contact times. Okay, so yeah, Night Owl, Elysian from Elysian Brewing. Decent enough pumpkin ale. It's not the one that rocks my world, but I think I'll always be looking for that first beer that sent me on the path of craft beer that I've never been able to find again. Yeah. So that is your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.